Hi, Laura Frick. Welcome to A.PUTNAM's Women in Golf.
Hi, thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
We are thrilled, and I can't wait to share. Well, one, hear your story because I haven't really gotten the lowdown on it yet. So, we're going to dive into the details of what brought you here now as a championship director for the PGA of America. I'm going to get into the details of that and how big of a deal it is. I'd love to just ask, like, where and when did golf come into your life? Like, where did it all
I
start?
love this question because golf has really been a family sport for me. I've been playing since I was 8 years old. My grandparents actually taught me to play, and my dad played, my mom played, my sister played. So we just used to play the sport, recreationally. Played in high school. It was just something that was always a challenge. So I always kept coming back to it, wanting to be better and better, but then realized it wasn't about being better and better. It was just about spending time with family, spending time outdoors, and enjoying a sport that will forever be a challenge and fun altogether. So, yeah, my uncle also was a PGA golf professional, and that's kind of what led me into becoming a golf professional and kind of going down the path of a career in golf and not just playing it for fun and for life.
That's really cool. Now, was it always it sounds like it was always kind of your number one sport. So through high school, obviously you're athletic. Did you play any other sports or was it just golf?
Yeah, I played basketball and volleyball, and I dabbled in soccer when I was really young, but basketball was actually kind of my first love. I always contemplated wanting to play it in college. I still love to play it recreationally today, but I had an injury in high school, so I had been playing basketball and golf together. Had an injury that wasn't, career ending by any means,
Yeah.
but it also just kind of led me to take a look back and see what I wanted to really do with my life that was sports and that was golf. And I ultimately chose to kind of stop playing basketball competitively and really focus on golf. And that's when I started getting more lessons and taking it a little bit more seriously. And then that sort of led into the career aspect alongside of that. So did play basketball for a while,
Yeah.
but golf kind of took the cake.
Yeah, it took over early on. Now, where are you
Mhm.
from? We talked about this for a quick second before you jumped on. So, hometown is where?
Hometown is Hudsonville, Michigan. It's a small city outside of the Grand Rapids area.
Okay, cool. And then school, when you started to look at colleges, where were you narrowing in on? And was it solely for golf? Was that your focus?
That's a
Yeah.
great question. So, my sister went to the University of Michigan. My whole family were huge Michigan fans. Always have to throw a Go Blue in there. My
The birds
parents
coming from Ohio, by the way.
um, my parents went to Central Michigan, and my uncle that I mentioned, he went to Ferris State. And so I was kind of looking at University of Michigan, at Central, and at Ferris. And I really was interested actually in sports broadcasting, also in special education. So those were sort of the two majors that I originally was like, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I either want to talk sports all day or I want to go become a special education teacher and maybe even involve sports in that as well. And then my mom actually played this video of the Ferris State PGA Golf Management program that she found, and she was like, "You need to look at this further. Like, this could be perfect for you." And I watched the video and I talked to my uncle. We took a visit up to Ferris, and it was kind of like decision made. This is what I
Yeah.
want to do. It blended together a sport that I loved, but the business side of it as well. I wasn't ever gonna, I could have played golf in college, but I wouldn't have made it, outside of college. It wasn't gonna be a career game for me. So to find a way to still make it a career game in a way, but focus on the business side of it was pretty special.
Well, and I'd say it's also kind of unusual. Like we're accumulating these women in golf interviews, and you might be the first actually that came out of high school knowing that like you wanted to be involved in the sport but not play. I think so many people took the path, especially those that did play, took the path of playing, like knowing that hey, this is the way I stay with golf is to play. So I think it's actually unusual that early on you were like, well, I know there's probably something more in this than just playing. So actually, that's pretty unusual, and probably helps that you found this golf management program, like right at your fingertips at a school that, you know, you had a family member that could relate to, and it sounds like the stars aligned on that one.
Yeah, it's actually funny. I don't admit this very often, but I will admit it today. I originally was not a good enough player to even get into the golf management program. So the summer that I applied, they put me in pre-PGM, it was called, and they said, throughout the summer, you need to work on your golf game. This was all based upon my high school scores. They said you need to work on your golf game and come back to us with your scores over the summer. And if by the time school starts, if your scores are better, we'll enroll you in the full program. And that's exactly what I went and did. I went and spent all summer just like playing and practicing. Even though I knew, like, I'm not going to college to play golf, but there was a requirement to have a specific skill set. And thankfully, I did get the scores I needed, and I went right into the standard PGM program from the start. But it's funny that you say that because, yeah, I knew a career of playing the game was not for me, but I also knew I was good enough to be able to talk about the game, be in the business of the game. But it took a little bit of proving early on, so I was set up for that.
You were totally determined. That's so cool. I don't know the ins and outs of even the PGM, like really to know that there's kind of a level of play that you have to be at. I mean, it makes sense, but that's pretty crazy that you were in that situation of like, this is at your fingertips if you work hard for it. It's within reach. That's really cool. So you were there then for 4 years going through the program. What was that like? Like in the midst of it, were you kind of determined and figured, like, did you figure out exactly what you wanted to do with it leaving school? I know that typically there's like a path in that. So like, what was next for you through that program?
So I feel really lucky because I have kind of always felt like I knew what I wanted to do in golf. The whole reason that the PGM program stood out to me was I was one of those people in a high school golf tournament who would kind of look around and be like, why does the golf ball fly the way it does? How do they make the grass at the golf course look so good? Who's in charge of these tee times and putting this event together? And like my brain would just think about the operations of something like that. And so when I went to Ferris, I had that mindset of like, I want to work in tournaments. I want to work with the best athletes in the world, and I want to put on a great show for fans and partners. And like, this is something I want to do. And when I got into the Ferris class, I was actually the only girl in a class of 80 men. And I came in with that mentality of like, I'm interested in learning about tournament operations. I want to be a tournament director or a championship director one day. I used to tell people, like, I want to be the first female to run the Masters. That was my tagline. I told everyone. But my advisors originally were like, we think you should try to become a coach or become a head golf professional, go the more traditional route. Not very many people go on as a PGA member to be, you know, a tournament director or a championship director. And so I went, you have to go on 3 different internships throughout your time in the program. And so they convinced me kind of for my first internship to go to a golf course and kind of do the golf course internship. And I went to Nantucket Golf Club in Massachusetts, which was amazing. Spent a summer on Nantucket Island.
Cool.
And that was where I met my first mentor, and he was my boss at Nantucket Golf Club. His name was Mike Demakis, and he knew. He saw it in me the first 2 weeks because I would ask questions like, when's member guest? When's the member? Can I help with scoring? Can I help with XYZ thing? Instead of wanting to learn like the POS system and merchandising and that side, I always asked questions about when the tournaments were going to be. And I remember him saying to me, like, you should follow this passion. Like, you can go down this path and I will help you. And he did. He helped make introductions to people. He supported me every step of the way. So I went back to Ferris and I said, hey, for my next 2 internships, I'm going to do something to do with tournaments. And they supported it. They were,
so
you know,
cool.
by no means
They're like,
were they...
we're not talking this girl out of this. So
yeah, they're like, okay, fine, go ahead.
That's cute.
And yeah, I did. I went on to do a section internship at the Middle Atlantic PGA. and they do a junior tour, and basically you travel around and host 30 to 34 tournaments in the DC, Virginia, Maryland area. And that's where I fell in love with travel. I had not traveled too much prior to that. And so we're in hotels every night. We're showing up to the golf course at 4 a.m. and leaving at 7 p.m. And I was like, I love this. I love this.
Oh,
Like,
cool.
this is so cool. And then my final internship, I did one with the Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey Pines. And that's where I went from the junior golf experience to the professional golf experience. And every time I did something like that, the energy and the passion for it just grew and grew. And it just takes that special, like, I think it's a special type of person who would rather get up at 3 a.m. and work until 8 p.m. than just go work a normal 9 to 5.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it just wasn't ever going to be for me. So here we are.
That's incredible. All in like your college career too, I think, to have that exposure, and obviously mentors, you know, like you had at Nantucket, that those just really shape, right, and fuel your fire to get to where you want to be, and somebody realizing that in you is really special. And I think it's really neat that you get some of the junior experience, and then in that same breath, not long to go, you know, where you did is really neat. And I'm sure out of college then, were you leaning on some of these internships to enter into your first job? Where did you, like, how did you make that first leap to where you went?
I smile because this is probably one of my favorite stories to tell. Because again, I was very intent on having some sort of tournament role. And so when I got out of college, there were some opportunities to go to a golf course and work as an assistant golf professional. And I kind of held off, and I kept exploring other opportunities. It's hard to get into tournament golf, even when you have connections and you have prior experience, just because the seasonality component of some of it, it's like when I graduated college, it was December, and there just wasn't a lot of opportunities because the season had just ended.
Yeah.
But I got patient, and I waited it out for a little while, and there was an article that came out about a brand new LPGA tournament coming to Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I read the article, and I was like, that sounds amazing. And there was one guy quoted in the article, and he was the tournament director. I found him on LinkedIn, and I messaged him, and I said, hey, I just saw this article. I'm assuming you're going to be hiring some staff. I also saw that you come from a NASCAR background, because I looked him up and did my research, and I was like, I come from a golf background, so I can support your needs as it relates to the aspects of a golf tournament that maybe you're not as familiar with. And he met me for lunch, and I got hired, and that was my first job out of college. So I love LinkedIn, and I always try to respond to people on LinkedIn because that's how I got my start. I know.
And that's how we met.
Exactly. That's why I was laughing. I was like, LinkedIn's been too good to me. I don't know.
That's really cool. I mean, and to put yourself out there and have that confidence to say, like, I'm the person, you know, to be by your side to support with that. And also just, I think, be able to read through simply somebody's profile and understand, like, what's my entry point? Like, how do I really set myself apart from, you know, we all get a bunch of junk via LinkedIn. So that's insane. So then your first tournament, you were kind of in your home turf to some degree. So what was that like?
That was one of the craziest and best experiences of my career. It taught me so much because there ended up being a small team of us. It was essentially 3 to 4 people that were putting on this first time LPGA event. And so I moved up to Ann Arbor, and when you build a tournament like that from scratch, you need 700 plus volunteers, you need sponsors, you need community support. And I didn't know anyone hardly in Ann Arbor, maybe a few connections, but we had to go out and we had to meet all these people and kind of sell the tournament. And I just learned so much from the sponsorship side of things to the volunteer management side of things to the player experience side of things. And there was no, I was hired on as the volunteer coordinator, and my job was truly to build the volunteer program. But within 4 or 5 months, I was promoted to event manager, and I ended up overseeing all players, all community
Oh
relations,
my
and all
gosh.
volunteers. And it was just like really building the plane as you were flying it.
Yep. Baptism
It
by
was
fire.
exactly
Yep.
that. And I learned, like I said, I mean, so many things I've taken from that experience into the rest of my career, because
Sure.
there was no like, let's sit down and let's train for this. It was just either be as proactive as you can, or when it's time to be reactive, be prepared and act accordingly.
Yeah, you obviously had to handle so many situations and just really builds out your skill set, your resume, like right out of the gates. So I'm sure
Yeah.
that was, I mean, it's sometimes probably the best way to learn, right? I'm sure you're thankful that that's what happened. And obviously, you were rising to the occasion in a very good manner, so you were trusted and got to do those things. Now I have to ask, out coming out of that and looking at this opportunity where you got to touch on every aspect of a championship like that, did you walk away being like, all right, I can't stand the volunteer side of it and I love the player relations side? Like, was there any part of it where you're like, this is my favorite part?
I will say I didn't walk away not liking anything. And
Yeah.
if anything, I walked away completely shocked that my body physically at the end of that event felt like I had been hit by a bus. But if you had asked me if I would wake up and do it again the next week, I would have said, yes, I'm so sad that it's
Yeah.
over.
Yeah.
My favorite thing though that I have grown to love is I do love inside the ropes. I love getting a hammer in my hands and building a piece of signage. I love setting up the golf course and like being the first person on the course in the morning when maybe maintenance is out there and the sun is rising and you're just making sure that your course is ready to go for the best players in the world. Like, I've always loved that aspect of championships,
Yeah.
and even as I've grown in my career and in my responsibilities, I always kind of make sure I at least give myself the chance to like put up one piece of signage,
Oh.
or, take that ride around the golf course if it means I got to get there an hour earlier than normal. Like, that's something that I've always kind of held on to, and honestly, I can't wait for next year's championship, because that's going to be a really special moment for me when I get to do that.
It is like going to feel like a crowning moment, and I don't doubt with where you are that that won't be the last, right? But I think it says something about your personality. I think that you like to get your hands dirty, and you're probably leading a team by example, right? Like, if I have to go out and put 40 signs into the ground, I'm gonna go do it.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's what puts you in the position you are now, is that people recognize that, I'm sure, about you, that you're a team player, that you've got so much invested heart and soul into these tournaments, and it shows. So I'm sure just that approach that you have is what will take you so far. So it's really cool that that's so early in your career you felt that, and it's obviously resonating and carried with you onward. So now, and I know I'm not going to announce your age here, but like, I know you're young, so like, I'm so curious as to kind of your next step outside of that, management of that event tournament. What was next?
After the LPGA, I got a job offer with PGA of America, and at their headquarters at the time, that was in Palm Beach Gardens, Florida, as a championship coordinator. Outside of their spectator championships, this was actually in their member championship side. So back into the junior golf space, doing like Junior Ryder Cup, Junior PGA Championship, and then the events they put on for their members. So I, as a member, can play in these events, but I've always actually been more interested in putting them on for others. So I took that job and moved away from my family, moved away from Michigan. Again, being someone who grew up kind of not traveling a lot, and I was definitely more of a homebody. This was a pretty big move for me, but it didn't feel as scary as kind of I thought it would feel, just because it felt like right time, right place, right decision. And I moved to Florida, and started working on championships, and had the opportunity to travel to Paris for the Ryder Cup, had the opportunity to do some PGA championships. So even though I was doing junior golf and member golf primarily, I still got to start experiencing what it was like to be at a major championship. And that was where my eyes started to get even bigger and my smile bigger too, because it was just like, oh, wow, yeah, this is the big leagues, like the big leagues of the big leagues.
Yep.
It was awesome.
That's so neat. And what year was this? Like, how long ago was this?
This was, so I moved to Florida in 2017, and I've been with the
Okay.
PGA I just celebrated 8 years. So obviously some career
Congratulations.
changes in there along the PGA side, but yeah, that's 2017.
Oh my gosh, that's so neat. Now, did you enjoy the junior PGA side of things?
I loved it because I love kids, and also when I had come from this mentality of like putting on championships for the best players in the world. And there's two cool things about doing junior golf is one, when you can take what you've learned from running championships for professional golfers and apply that to junior golfers, the reward factor hits almost 1,000 times more because you see those kids' eyes light up and you know that not all of them are going to make it to the LPGA or PGA Tour. And this could be one of the best experiences that you provide them of their life. Like they could still be talking about
So
this
cool.
20 years down the road to their kids. And so to have that opportunity to impact kids and families was really rewarding, and it's why I stayed in junior golf for a long time. And then I think the second part is there are 1, 2, 3% of those kids that are advancing into the professional space. And when you get to see them at that age and you're like, that kid is going to be a star. And then you fast forward and you see the Akshay Bhatiyas of the world, the Rose Zangs, Yalimi No, like multiple kids. I say kids, they're not kids
I
anymore.
know.
Multiple young people. See, I
Yeah.
am old. Multiple young people on tour now played in our championships,
Yeah.
and that to me is also really rewarding to see.
That's so neat. And so when did you wrap up with the junior PGA then?
So I was with our championships department until the end of 2018, and then I transitioned. I took a promotion to move into a new department called the player engagement department. And I still was running a national championship, but it was called the PGA Junior League Championship. It's a little bit different of a format. It's team golf, and it's still ages 17 and under. But I took that on, and so I took that on in 2019 and stayed on through that until my current transition. So
Oh,
when I
gotcha.
started the
Okay.
Junior League Championship, I didn't start it. When I started my own kind of process with it, it was a great event that was kind of taped to broadcast, so it was a broadcast delayed event. And by the time I left it, which was just a couple months ago now, it's now live on ESPN.
So
We have a
neat.
great
Yeah.
venue here at PJ Frisco. It used to be held at Greyhawk Golf Club. So I got to see that event grow a lot and just the impact that it was having on these players and families. And so it was like taking the Junior PGA Championship experience and getting to just keep it going with a new championship and still seeing that outcome of like kids loving the sport
Yeah.
and getting to enjoy it with their friends and family.
That's so neat. Okay. And so this kind of gives me now we're kind of drum rolling into where you are now. So were you looking for something new, or did you get like a knock on the door of, hey, would you be interested?
I was not looking for anything new. I've always wanted, I will preface that by saying I've always wanted this opportunity. It's something that I've kind of been going after since I mentioned I wanted to be the first ever Masters Championship director. So similar thing, like when I got to the PGA, I thought, all right, this is my career path. I want to, eventually get up to this position. And I just heard that there was going to be an opening, and I just put my name in the hat. There was really no kind of crazy circumstances other than I found out that they were going to be looking for a women's PGA Championship director, and I thought, this is perfect. I absolutely loved the team I was working with and loved my current or previous role. But I knew in my heart it was 100% the right decision and thing to do. Kind of the same feeling I had when I moved to Florida back then of
Yeah.
like, this should be scarier than it's feeling. So I think it's the right thing to do. And then, yeah, I just got fortunate, very
That's
fortunate.
amazing. Fortunate, but also it just seems like this was like made for you, and it's you constantly are obviously pushing yourself with each new role that you take on, and so, and I think that's what makes somebody like stronger and stronger in their career is like, hey, I'm gonna take the thing that maybe I don't feel super qualified for, but I know I can do it, right? And
Hmm.
that's what just like, I mean, but that's what makes I think that career path for anybody, no matter what it is, so rewarding and enjoyable, and the challenge keeps you growing. So, I mean, and now you've placed yourself as the first female to do
Yeah,
this.
I'm the first female PGA member to be a championship director, which is just going back to the story I told in the beginning. It kind of makes sense, right? Like the narrative was not a lot of PGA members go this path, and there are some incredible PGA members who are doing really great things for the game of golf through their golf courses and through their coaching programs. And I just knew that that path wasn't for me. And so to end up in this position and to be able to represent maybe other PGA members who feel like going down a different path, I think that's a really honorable thing to represent. And so I'm really grateful to be the one to lead that charge.
It's so neat, and I'm sure your head and is just spinning with everything you have going on now with this new role. When did you kind of take on this role where everything was shifting in terms of your time and energy? Was it recent?
Yeah, I'm about just over a month
Okay, super
into
new.
the role.
Yep.
But the very first week on the job, I actually took a week visit out to Hazeltine, and it kind of just reminds me of when I started that LPGA tournament out of college, where you just jump right in with 2 feet, and I know how to live in that environment. I
Yeah.
know how to do that now. So that experience has helped me here too, because I feel like it's already go time. You know, it's less than 2 years
Yeah.
away, which to some people seems like a lot, but it's not a lot when it's a major championship. So, yeah, I'm off and running and feeling better and better every day. Like I've got
Yeah.
great people who are coaching me and guiding me along the way. But yeah, it's been a whirlwind, but so fun.
You're jumping right in, but it sounds like you wouldn't have it any other way. So
No.
it probably is just you have to get in there and do it. Now, is there any kind of transition period where you have somebody to shadow and mentor, or is it really like, Laura, this is your gig, go?
Yeah, there are a great group of championship directors at the PGA. So, specifically, there's a woman named Jackie Ensley who has been a rock star running these women's PGA championships in years past. And she's really taken me under her wing, and we bounce ideas off of each other. We were just chatting right before I jumped on here. And there's many other champ directors who are running Ryder Cup, PGA Championship, Senior PGA Championship. And it's a great group of people who have welcomed me with open arms from day one. And they're like, ask us anything. They include me on things so that I can kind of see the different type of operations that occur with this type of stuff versus what I've been working on. But it's such a talented and smart group of individuals that I feel so lucky to just listen and learn from them. Like they are some of the best in the industry, and it's really really special to be a peer with them. Like
Right.
that's so crazy to me still.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I think that's having that mindset and realizing too that it's such a group and team effort on all fronts. And where it's like you walk in there and you're like, I have so much to learn from all of you versus coming in and being like, this is how we're doing it. Move
Yeah.
aside. So you'll find, I'm sure, so much success in doing that. And it's kind of crazy to think that, I mean, it's more time than you spend planning a wedding, obviously. Like it is, you've got 2 years, and I'm sure that timeline feels short when you back into whether it's a Gantt chart or whatever you guys work off of like that project timeline of here's what has to get done and when. But it's got to be so fun. Do you feel like, and I'm just curious in your role, are there elements of the tournament where you feel like you can put your special touch on, where you're like, I can't wait to do this here or that there? Like, how much kind of influence do you get to elevate it in the way you want to?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think my mindset going into this is kind of, I don't want to rock the boat because so many people have done great things with these championships prior to me, but I also am a fresh set of eyes, fresh set of ideas, and I really do want to have a few small wins, going into my first championship. I think for me, because I came from junior golf and I've seen what it means to them to put special touches on things, and what it means to families that are coming out to these championships is, I can't really pinpoint yet what special touches I will be putting on, but I will definitely be focused on the families and kind of the next generation of who's going to be experiencing this championship. And I really want boys and girls to look up to these players and to look around at these championships and feel like this is something that I want to do. Like, I want to play golf because I had a great experience at this championship. Not even playing golf professionally. Like, I'm really big on golf doesn't have to be 18 holes and cost $200 and be played for 4.5 hours. It's like, I just want people to go enjoy the golf experience and then be like, maybe we should go putt around at this mini golf place. Or, hey, let's turn golf on TV. Or let's, go to Top Golf. Like, all of those things are okay. And I just hope to kind of inspire the next generation through my major.
That's really neat. And I think, and you will. I think it was like probably 5 years ago that I went to my first championship or just any event like that. And one that I brought my kids to. And so just the Memorial Tournament here in Columbus, Ohio. But it has made such an impact on my boys where they just have a different, I think, respect and interest in the sport because of it. Like, we always golfed as a family and things like that, but it really adds this really special layer and understanding, I think, of the sport and just what an experience it is. Not say, like you said, just from a next generation standpoint, and how do you make a tournament like that fun and enjoyable? And it's a wonderful spectator sport. Like, and so. And the tournaments are really cool. And I always laugh because I remember my dad on the weekends just falling asleep to watching golf. And I always had this mentality of like, it's like something peaceful. You hear the birds chirping. But it is so different being like physically at these events. And it's really cool that you're going to have a big part of that. It's so neat.
Yeah. And that's something I started to do and explore for our junior league championship here at PGA Frisco was, how do we, not everyone is going to be interested in coming on property just to watch golf. So how do you put together ancillary events that get them on property and get them to experience golf, but maybe not in the traditional way of following around a group for 18 holes? And that comes to life through movie nights and fun food activations and concerts, and like just thinking a little bit bigger than just the golf piece, because that's how you're going to try to connect to different demographics and different people who, and maybe once they get on site, they're like, wait a minute, I want to check this out. Like, you just got to reel them in.
That's right. It's got to be such a fun challenge, and you've got so many good things going on and coming up, and I'm really excited to meet you at, kind of the KPMG event this year. And when you're there, obviously, because you're in Frisco, right? Now, so when you go to, 2025 tournament, like what's your role and what are you doing there? Obviously, you're not quite at that 2026 event, but I'm sure you're starting to play a really big role in it. And I'm sure you feel like you've got so much to learn. lots of holes to walk and all of it.
Yeah, I feel so fortunate that this year's championship happens to be in my backyard because as a new championship director, the opportunity to just see one come to life. I mean, I sit right next to the championship director, Jason Mangle. I see him every single day and I see his team. And so I can already get that gauge of, okay, this is what April looks like for
Yes.
the operating team. So I'll be doing a lot of learning, but I also will have our 2026 Hazeltine team. So we'll have a general chair. She'll come out and see the championship this year. There'll be about 20 people from Hazeltine that throughout the week they'll come. So I'll host them, I'll introduce them to kind of the general chair of this year's event and other people who are doing jobs that they'll be doing in 2026. So they can do the same thing I'm doing, which is just kind of observing, taking notes, asking questions, and seeing this championship come to life so that they know what to expect next year at their facility. And then, yeah, I mean, KPMG obviously is our amazing title sponsor. They'll all be out here, and I'll have the chance to spend some time with them and getting to know kind of the key stakeholders there and just build relationships. And there's a junior golf event that I get to be on the panel of, so I always
Oh,
love,
fun.
again, I'll forever try to keep my connections to junior
Yep.
golf because it means so much to
Cool.
me. But and then I'm gonna hang out with you. That's
I
that's on my
know.
that's on my
I
plan
love
too.
it. I can't
Yeah,
wait. It's like the stars aligned on that one that we'll get to
perfect.
see each other. I know I'll be in Frisco 2 times this summer, which is crazy. So
Awesome. It's gonna be hot.
I
Prepare for that.
know. I
Not
know.
Ohio summer
No,
weather.
it's not that 75 and breezy. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait. And I'm so excited for you. It's really been an honor to include you in the Women in Golf because I think you're just such a good example of finding this really neat career path in kind of a more unconventional way, but sticking to your guns and just working so hard for what you want. And it's really cool. And you've really made your mark in such an accomplishment as the first female to do that. So we're
Thank
so
you.
proud of you. Like, it's so cool to meet
Thank
you and
you.
support you. So very neat. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast and can't wait to see you in Frisco.
Yeah, that's right. Thanks so much, Laura.
You're welcome. Bye.